Yo! Curiosity Shop. ZeldaDungeon.net video mailbag. Zelda questions. I answer 'em. Cooper Vilpop101 asks, does Link curse when he takes a big fall? I can't tell, it sounds like the S word. What do you think? You mean like in Ocarina of Time when he falls from a huge distance and he makes that like sound? No, I don't think so. In fact, I don't think you'd have, I mean, I think it's just like a random sound of agony. I don't think you'd have much time to swear when, you've just fallen off a cliff. Adam West Slapdog asks, what genre do you think the Zelda series is? I know that due to the dungeons it's puzzle, but what about the rest? Think about this. First-person shooter. Definitely. Tobex asks, I was wondering, what do you think is the most boring dungeon in any Zelda game? Okay, this is one of those questions that you should totally, like, give your own answer in the comments, because it's totally one of those opinion ones. But, for me, I can't pick one in particular, because it's generally, for me, always, like, the first dungeon out of any Zelda game. Because they're always the dungeons where, you know, like, they give you stuff really slowly, gradually. They don't really give you any real challenge. It's nothing that you aren't going to see throughout the entire rest of the game, or that you haven't necessarily seen before in the Zelda series. It's just the easy, like, noob dungeon that just you can easily blow through. I think, actually, in that regard, my favorite first dungeon, like, in any Zelda game, is totally the Forest Temple in Twilight Princess, because that was a full dungeon, and not only was it kind of challenging and kind of, like, totally stood on its own as a dungeon, aside from being, you know, the first dungeon in the game, it also had a unique gimmick or theme that no other dungeon in the game used, and that's pretty much unique for first dungeons in the Zelda series from what I can tell, and that was the whole collecting the monkeys thing and having them help you through the dungeon. I thought the Forest Temple was awesome. Yeah, so give your answer in the comments. Zapto369 asks, I know that you didn't like the Wind Waker, but what did you think about each of the bosses having their own theme music? Is this something you would like to see again? You know, I still love the Wind Waker. All I said that last mailbag was, or might have been the last one, was that it's my least favorite Zelda game, and that means very little considering that Zelda is my favorite series. But, moving on. I love that thing about the Wind Waker, actually. I liked that the bosses had unique theme songs. Now, they kind of continued this in Twilight Princess, though they did reuse some songs, like, you know, Star-Lord's first form had the same music as Diababa's first form, and, Argarok had all the same songs as Morpheal, so, you know, they reused songs. Either one is fine to me, having reusing some or having all original. I just like that musical variety for the bosses. It's better than Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, where aside from the final boss, everyone has the same music. I thought it was nice variety, for sure. Hey Listen asks, I've heard you say in a previous mailbag that your favorite Zelda game is Majora's Mask. Do you think that Nintendo will implement such detailed side quests in Skyward Sword or ever again in a future Zelda game? Now, that's kind of a difficult question for me, because I think they should. I think there's only benefits to doing so, but I'm not sure if they will. I'm still kind of wondering what Nintendo's going to do in regards to reusing ideas like this again, making steps forward with the Zelda series that really, you know, make it better and better. I don't really know what Nintendo intends to do with this. It's something we're going to have to see. I think that adding the side quest stuff from Majora's Mask will enhance character development, just depth to the game in general of having stuff to do outside of the main quest. And I think, you know, it just has only benefits that it can add to the story, and I think because of it, Majora's Mask had one of the deepest stories and deepest characterization of any game in the Zelda series. That said, I'm not sure if Nintendo is going to try to reuse things and make an ideal Zelda experience and really do the smart thing on that. Or at least what I consider to be the smart thing. I'm not all-knowing. I like to pretend I am, but I'm not. Ganon Was Just Misunderstood asks, if The Legend of Zelda was given to an outside developer for a new game, like Metroid Prime was with Retro Studios, which developer or game designer would you like to see take a crack at Zelda? It's a difficult question as well, because I don't really want anyone else to take over Zelda. I'm pretty happy with it with Nintendo, although I suppose there's aspects where they just need to learn where to, you know, take it further, I guess. I'm also not too familiar with game developers and their own unique styles, I guess. I'm not generally one to think that it has to be done a certain way. You know, Retro Studios is a great one because they always know, they generally have always known when to add stuff and make changes to the series, but also keep just the right elements to make it feel like it always did. They did that great with Metroid, and they did that great with Donkey Kong, in my opinion. Another interesting one would be Team Ico, who did Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and the upcoming Last Guardian, because they have a very interesting style. I'm not sure if it fits with Zelda, but the art that they put into their games and the great stories and atmosphere would be interesting at the very least. It'd be interesting to see what they did at least. And Capcom, they make decent Zelda games, but they have a tendency to not really make anything new. It's just Zelda as we've known it. But it's fun, so I don't really know. I guess another one that kind of comes to mind is Hideo Kojima, who's worked on the Metal Gear series, mainly because I think Metal Gear has some of the most intriguing and philosophical storylines and just great experiences of a lot of games, and it's one of my Metal Gear Solid is one of my favorite game series, and I think some aspects of that would be brilliant in Zelda. Of course, he'd also probably massively expand the stealth aspects of the Zelda series, but you know. But so that's about all I can say. I'm not really again, I don't really want someone to take over Nintendo. I just like Nintendo to move forward a bit more, I guess. The Ash Girl asks, do you think we'll see advanced technology like flying airships in Skyward Sword? Well, the trailers have already shown us that there is going to be advanced technology in the game, and pretty dang advanced technology, too. I mean, we see, like, mechanized enemies coming at you, and electricity all over the place. So, what's funny is that actually came out, that trailer came out literally on the day after, and later in the day, then I posted a mailbag addressing a question about Zelda technology, but, But anyway, I think that this means that there will be a major technological aspect of the game, but it's hard to say if it's just going to be like one dungeon or aspect of the story, like one culture, perhaps Skyloft culture, or if it's going to bleed into the rest of the game and what we will see. Airships, I'm kind of skeptical. At least really advanced ones, maybe primitive ones, I'm not sure. But I don't really think we'll see airships because it seems to be like this mystic, ancient aspect, even though there is the technology that they showed. I think airships are kind of not something we're gonna see. Especially since the gameplay seems like it's going to be taking place either up in Skyloft or down in the land below, not between. The Skyward Sword transports you back and forth. There's probably not going to be gameplay between, at least I don't think so. Adult Link 1000 asks, do you think the hero shade that teaches you sword skills in Twilight Princess is related to Link from Ocarina of Time? At the end, he says, don't falter, my child. Well, no. Well, kind of. I think that it's a very interesting theory, but it's still a theory. There's some heavy implication to it, but there's also things that contradict it. In particular, a lot of the evidence supporting it, like that line, do not falter, my child, aren't absolute. The hero shade already clearly spoke with kind of like old versions of English. It probably wasn't completely accurate, but that's the kind of thing they were trying to do with his character. And mentor-like characters always refer to their charges, or very often do, as my child. It's a generic statement, it's not literal. He refers to our bloodline, these techniques do not leave our bloodline, but that could just refer to my bloodline and your bloodline, kid. Or, do not teach these to anyone else. The only reason I am teaching you these techniques is because my bloodline ended. So this stays in your bloodline because it couldn't stay in mine. Etc. There's like a billion interpretations of that sentence. Now, I think Nintendo may have been intending to put this in as a reference, but at the same time, I'm skeptical of that because there's so many contradictions to it. Additionally, it's a very, like, side element of the game. This is like a side quest. Aside from the first one, this is not required at all. Pretty easy to complete, but it's still, I don't know. I think that it's left to... I think it was intended to imply that, probably, but left to be open enough. It's not an absolute thing. Carlbot asks, we know how you hope they don't remake Majora's Mask for the 3DS. What about Ocarina of Time? How did you feel about it when we first heard news about it? What about now? When I first heard news about it, I didn't really think anything. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool, you know, confirmed rumor, etc. Just kind of caught up in the news revolving around Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time 3DS, you know, just, okay, cool. Not especially excited about it, you know. But then when, you know, then I just I started thinking about it, and you've heard about it on the mailbags and stuff, and on, like, the podcast. I've stated that I'm not really that excited about the ideas of remakes in general. That doesn't interest me in general. However, some of the new news about Ocarina of Time 3DS and seeing some of the frankly beautiful screenshots, it definitely looks like a great experience, and it looks like a beautiful game. So I'm interested in playing it. Not overall excited about the idea of playing a remake, but it's Ocarina of Time, so it's going to be great. So, yeah. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the email address or contact page in the description, and I'll see you guys later. Carlbot asks, we know